When you think of the First World War, you probably imagine soldiers in trenches, right? But one of the most important fronts in that war wasn't on land at all. It was deep beneath the ocean surface. We're talking about a terrifying new kind of warfare, a weapon that could strike without warning, and a single event that would change everything.
So that really is the big question we're tackling here. How did this brand new, invisible weapon completely rewrite the rules of war at sea and play such a huge role in the outcome of World War I?
To get to the bottom of that, we have to start with the weapon itself. Because at the time, nothing like the German U-boat had ever been used on such a massive scale. It was a true game changer.
Okay, so what exactly was a U-boat? Well, the name is just short for the German word Unterseeboot, which literally means undersea boat. And its greatest power? Its ability to become totally invisible, lurking silently beneath the waves to attack its enemies with complete surprise.
You see, Germany's regular navy couldn't really compete with Great Britain's Royal Navy. It was the most powerful in the world. So Germany decided to play a different kind of game. The whole strategy behind the U-boat was to sneak past those big British warships and go after the merchant ships, the ones carrying food, weapons, and all sorts of vital supplies. The goal was simple: cut off Britain's supply lines and basically starve them into surrendering.
But here's the thing. This brand new type of warfare created a massive problem. There were old, almost gentlemanly rules about how you were supposed to fight at sea, and those rules were about to clash with some very deadly new tricks.
For hundreds of years, naval battles followed what were called prize rules. It sounds a bit formal, but it basically meant you had to surface your ship, fire a warning shot, and let the crew of a merchant ship get safely into their lifeboats before you sank their vessel. It was all about protecting civilian lives. But think about it. For a submarine, coming to the surface makes you a sitting duck.
And the British knew that. So they came up with an incredibly clever and incredibly sneaky secret weapon, the Q-ship. These things looked just like slow, harmless cargo ships. But it was a disguise. Underneath, they were packed with hidden guns, just waiting to lure a U-boat to the surface.
And here you can see exactly how that deadly trap worked. On the left, you've got the way prize rules were supposed to work. Very orderly. But on the right, that's the Q-ship reality. The U-boat surfaces to do the honorable thing, and bam, panels drop, hidden guns appear, and the U-boat is ambushed. Playing by the old rules quickly became a suicide mission for German submarine captains.
This dangerous cat-and-mouse game pretty much forced Germany to make a really drastic decision. It led them to change their entire policy, and that change led directly to one of the most shocking and infamous moments of the entire war.
In February of 1915, Germany announced a new policy: unrestricted submarine warfare. This was a huge deal. It meant their U-boats would now sink any ship they found in the waters around Britain, whether it was an enemy ship or from a neutral country, without giving any warning at all. Their argument was, hey, Britain is trying to starve us with a blockade, so we're going to do the same thing to them. And sailing right into this incredibly dangerous new situation was the RMS Lusitania. Now, this was not a warship. This was a world-famous luxury passenger liner, kind of like a massive cruise ship today. The German embassy even took out ads in newspapers warning people not to sail on it. But most passengers just weren't worried. They figured the Lusitania was way too fast for any U-boat to catch.
They were wrong. On May 7, 1915, just off the coast of Ireland, a German U-boat spotted the Lusitania. It fired a single torpedo that slammed into the ship's side. But moments later, a second, much larger explosion ripped through the ship from the inside.
The result was absolutely catastrophic. This enormous ship, one of the grandest in the world, went down in just 18 minutes.
The human toll was just staggering. More than 1,100 people, men, women, and children, lost their lives in the freezing Atlantic waters that day.
An event like this, the sinking of a civilian liner on such a massive scale, sent immediate shockwaves all around the world. The reaction was instant and it was furious.
And you know why this became such a huge international crisis? Because among the over 1,000 people who died, 128 of them were American citizens. Now remember, the United States was officially neutral in the war, but now all of a sudden the war had killed its people on the high seas.
This quote really captures the feeling at the time. Headlines in newspapers across the globe condemned the attack. To much of the world, Germany was no longer just an enemy in a war. They were seen as a nation that murdered innocent civilians.
But Germany pushed back hard, defending its actions. And that led to a really tough question, one that people still argue about today. Was the Lusitania really just an innocent passenger ship? And this is where the story gets pretty complicated. The British government swore the ship was purely civilian, but the German government insisted it was secretly carrying war supplies to Britain. And it turns out, they were right. Modern expeditions that have explored the shipwreck have confirmed it. The Lusitania's cargo hold was filled with millions of rounds of rifle ammunition. That mysterious second explosion, it was almost certainly the ship's own secret cargo blowing up.
The international outrage over the Lusitania actually forced Germany to pause its unrestricted submarine warfare for a while. But a couple of years later, they decided to go all in with a final, desperate gamble to win the war from beneath the waves.
So, in 1917, Germany put all its chips on the table. They restarted unrestricted submarine warfare, knowing full well that it would almost certainly make the United States declare war on them. It was a huge gamble. They were betting that they could crush Britain before enough American soldiers could even cross the ocean to make a difference.
But this time, the Allies were ready for them. They had developed a whole system of countermeasures. They started grouping merchant ships into large convoys protected by fast warships called destroyers. These destroyers would hunt the U-boats using new weapons called depth charges, basically underwater bombs. And they even used aircraft to spot the subs from the sky. In the end, Germany's big gamble failed. The U-boat campaign, which was a major reason the U.S. entered the war, helped tip the scales against them. But even in failure, the U-boat had changed warfare forever. It proved that a nation's power no longer just depended on the warships you could see on the horizon, but on the silent, invisible threats that were lurking just below the surface.